Hello friends, I'm Niriti Negi and today I'm going to be talking about one of the oldest civilizations and the furniture forms that were there in the oldest civilization. Today I'm going to be talking about the ancient Chinese furniture. First of all, let me just tell you that the Chinese in their culture, in their philosophy, they conduct their life at the mat level. And by that I mean is that in the ancient culture of China, they did not have high seating, they did not have chairs, so their lifestyle was all conducted at the mat level. Maximum that they would have was small stools or small tables where they would write or they would paint or maybe have tea or something like that. But with the influence of the foreign lands and especially with the migration of Buddhism, high seating came about in China. So slowly and slowly there was a transition from the mat to the chair. The masters of Buddhism who would be addressing the disciples, they would use low platforms where they would sit and then they would address their disciples. So that is where there was a slow transformation from the mat level to the chair. So this was a transition period, and initially when these platforms or these high seatings they were designed to be big because the people would sit on them cross-legged or they would sit kneeling. They would not sit like we sit nowadays on a chair. So that was how the low platforms were designed. So till about 12th century, furniture was a rare item in China. Not much was found before 12th century, but slowly and slowly after 12th century the furniture forms started coming with the introduction of low platforms and then day beds, stools, and finally chairs and other things like tables, etc. So the Chinese furniture actually found its identity with the Ming dynasty in about mid-14th century. The Ming dynasty, as we know, came about in 1368 and lasted till about 1644. So that was the time period when, which we also sometimes call the golden era of Chinese furniture. Thereafter, after the Ming dynasty comes the Qing dynasty in 1644, and which was there till about 20th century, the beginning of 20th century. And with the Qing dynasty comes the minute detailing. This is the time when trade was on, China was flourishing, there was a lot of wealth which was flowing in. So the emperors, the rulers, they were investing a lot of money into detailing out the furniture forms. Whether it is detailing out the furniture forms, or if you have been listening to me in my prior lecture, we did talk about the architecture also during the Qing dynasty, which was highly elaborate. So that was how things were during Qing dynasty. One thing that we have to notice about the furniture forms which came about after 12th century in China is the superb joinery skills. The Chinese were already using timber for their construction. If you remember in my last lecture, I had told that what is unique about the architecture of China is the timber framework. They were working in wood. That was the material of construction. So they had enough knowledge about the joinery which goes with wood to erect a structure for making a building or a room. And the same knowledge was then being applied to furniture forms. So most of the furniture that we see in ancient China has superb joinery. They used very good refined wood with good firm texture, and they used joinery like mortise and tenon joints. Now mortise and tenon joint is one of the very basic joints which is used for erecting your joists, columns and beams. So that joint was used by the Chinese in their furniture. They used dovetails, they used dowel joints. So whatever joints they used, it was so well done. The joinery was so fine, there was hardly any requirement of any glue. So what we use nowadays is nailing and gluing. That was just absent in ancient China. They did not use any kind of glue. They did not use any kind of nails. nothing. The joinery was perfect, and that's how the furniture items stayed together. That was one very good thing about the Chinese furniture, because they were using these interlocking joints, and with the kind of climatic conditions that were there in China, the furniture forms stayed intact. Because in the later times, when people got furniture from the European Western world, and when they landed in China, because of the temperature change and because of the humidity, which was very high, most of the furniture pieces fell apart because they were nailed or they were glued, and then all the joints would become loose. But in ancient Chinese furniture, the way the furniture was made, it was all because of the joinery which was used, and that kept it intact. So that is one amazing feature of the ancient Chinese furniture. Like I said, the Chinese furniture found its identity with the Ming Dynasty. That's also called the golden era in the Chinese furniture, and we would call the Ming Dynasty furniture as being very simple. That's what they stressed on. They stressed on the simplicity. If you look at the furniture forms from the Ming Dynasty time, you would see that they are very, very simple, clean lines, very few carving, and whatever carving is done is very minimalistic, and it's very, very comfortable. In fact, most of the chairs, their height was maintained at 40 to 50 centimeters, which is ideally, ergonomically ideal height that you must have for chair. So comfort was one thing that Ming Dynasty furniture gave. So that is what Ming Dynasty furniture stands for. It stands for delicacy, it stands for sophistication. After Ming Dynasty comes the Qing Dynasty, when, like I said, the emperors had a lot of money to invest, and that's how the furniture forms also become very, very elaborate. So now with the flow of money, every furniture item which was produced was very, very elaborate as far as ornamentation goes. There was inlay work done. There would be inlay of ivory, or there would be semi-precious stone inlay. There would be carving, very, very carved furniture. So in all, the furniture had a lot of ornamentation, and that gave a very rich look to the furniture, and sometimes very, very gaudy look to the furniture. So that is the Qing Dynasty furniture, which was elaborately carved, elaborately ornamented, and which kind of demanded attention. But the fact is, why it was made to look so gaudy and attention-catching was because the furniture form was supposed to show the power and majesty of the emperor or the nobleman. So that is what was desired of furniture, and that is why it was decorated up so much. But somewhere along the line, while they were decorating things, while they were making furniture forms to please the eye, a comfort level of the furniture piece was sacrificed. And that is why when we look at the chairs from the Qing Dynasty, they look very, very pleasing to the eye. But if we look at the furniture form, the comfort has been sacrificed one way or the other. So the chair was not because it should be comfortable to sit on, but it was basically embellished, or it was decorated with precious stones and precious metals to just show the power and majesty of the person who is going to use it. So that was the Qing Dynasty furniture, which is so different from the Ming Dynasty furniture. The furniture which was made by the ancient Chinese used very, very nice, good grained wood. They used the Zitan wood, which is dark purplish in color. They used the Huangholi wood, the rosewood, teak wood, oak wood, all very precious wood, great wood to work with, and that is the kind of wood which is required, in which it could be carved out, it could be inlaid, or simply if you just polish it, then the grains of such fine wood would stand out and make the furniture piece look very, very beautiful. And let us now know about some major forms of furniture pieces that were being used in ancient China. Well, one of the most important or the most common piece of furniture were the stools that were being used in ancient China. The stools were of various types. There were stools which were round in shape, there were stools which were square, there were stools which could be folded, and they were made in various materials. They were made of hardwood, they were made of bamboo, or they would be made of stone, or simply carved out of stone, or they would be made of porcelain also. So stool was a very common furniture item which was being used in ancient China. There were stools which were with legs, so you would have cabriole legs, or you would have legs which are made of wood, but they are designed to look like bamboo, or they would simply be no legs, like in many rounded stone stools or stools which were made of porcelain, there were no legs. So stool was one furniture item which was being used in ancient China. Besides stools, there were tables for all kinds of gatherings. There were wine tables, there were pedestals, there were low-heighted tables where the people would sit on the mat and then they would do the calligraphy or they would do the painting. There were square tables. So all sorts of tables were being used in ancient China. Besides the tables, there was one furniture item which transformed slowly and slowly in China, and that was the bed. The bed, the history of bed, it starts with the platforms, very low-heighted platform, like I said earlier. We just discussed the Chinese basically conducted their lifestyle at a mass level, and with the coming of Buddhism and the coming in of the foreign influences, they started using higher platforms. See, the Buddhist masters would sit on these platforms and they would address their disciples. So sitting platforms or the ta, that's the first furniture form which came about in ancient China. And then there were sitting platforms which were also used for reclining or for lying down. Those were called shuang. So they were also made in ancient China. And most of these beds were used for daily work like painting or having tea or for calligraphy, etc. These platforms then got railings all around it on the three sides, and they got transformed and they were called day beds. These day beds were also lightweight beds which could be moved outside to the terraces, or they could be moved to the gardens if there was a requirement. In case of immediate gatherings or impromptu gatherings, they could be taken everywhere, anywhere. So these were lightweight furniture items. So the day bed, you must understand, were the lightweight furniture items which were used by the ancient Chinese, and they were used for impromptu gatherings or simply to go out in the serene environment of the garden to meditate, or even for holding conversation with your friends. So those were the day beds. Then there were couches, or the shuang that we called. They were the beds which were used for sitting as well as for reclining. So these were beds which had railings, or they would have carved panels on the three sides, and they were usually made of wood, or sometimes they were made of bamboo, and they were also used immensely in ancient China. Besides couches, there were canopy beds which were being used. Now, canopy beds are basically beds with four posters on the four corners, and they have a superstructure on top from where they would hang the drapes. So these four poster or six poster canopy beds were used in ancient China, and they were ideal for rooms. They were good in summers because then they would hang drapes like net or any gauze fabric which could be used. So there was ventilation inside the bed, but because of the fabric you could ward off the insects and the mosquitoes in summer nights, hot summer nights. And at the same time, in winters, in these four poster beds or the six poster beds, they would hang drapes which were made of either silk or any other heavy drape like cotton, that would be used by the Chinese. So that would give a cozy interior, a cozy bed in a very large room. Because as you know, silk and heavy fabrics, they trap your body heat and it keeps intact inside this canopy bed. So canopy bed was another type of bed which was used in ancient China. Besides canopy bed, there were alcove beds. Now these were beds which was a little large. They had an extension in front where there would be a table or a stool which would be kept along with the bed. So those were the alcove beds. There were very, very elaborate marriage beds also which were made in ancient China, which were highly ornamented, they were highly decorated, and they were very box-like in structure. So those were the various types of beds that we see in ancient China. There were stools, there were tables, and there were chairs. There were chairs for all kinds of occasions. There were chairs for meditation, there were chairs, round back chairs, there were lounge chairs. So all these chairs were present in ancient China. The chairs which were made during the Ming Dynasty period were very simple. They were very, very comfortable. So they were designed, they had standards which were followed, like, you know, what should be the height of the chair, what should be the height of the back. They would even curve out the back so that there is comfort while the person is sitting. So that was the Ming Dynasty chairs, which were very, very simple with clean lines. And then there were Qing Dynasty chairs, which were very, very ornamented. The carving panels were used on the back, or the legs will be highly carved, or the apron area of the chair will be highly carved. So that was the chair that was being used by the emperors or by noblemen or any person from the wealthy family. Apart from these furniture forms, there was another very important furniture item which was used in ancient China. Those were the screens. Now screens, if you have seen any of the Chinese movies, or you have seen pictures, screens are those foldable panels which could be made of wood, or it could be made of bamboo, or it could be simply painted fabric. So screens were used, an important furniture item which were used in the houses, firstly to screen off two areas. So that was one reason why they were used. They were there to ensure privacy. At other times, they were simply used as good backdrops. Like suppose there was an emperor who was on a chair and addressing the audience, then at the backdrop there will be a nicely elaborately carved screen which would be embellished with your precious stones, or would be gold gilded. So all that was to give a nice defined backdrop to the sitting where the emperor was sitting. So screens were made, were an important Chinese furniture item. And apart from that, the chests. Chests were the storage boxes which were used in ancient China to store their valuables, to store their clothes, or even to store their documents. So these chests initially were made without any lid, so they could not be lifted. They had to be lifted up and put aside. Then later, with the introduction of the hinges, they could be opened and closed. So there were also locks which could be put in front. So that is how the chests were made. The chests were also highly decorated. They were ornamented. They were painted, or sometimes they would be carved. There would be inlay work done on the chest, because chest was again a beautiful furniture item which could be kept anywhere in the room, so it had to look beautiful. Plus, it was serving the purpose of storing things in ancient Chinese houses. So chests were being used. So I'll just repeat the major forms that we discussed so far. There was the stool, there was a chair, there were tables, there were screens, there were chests, and of course there were beds, the various forms of beds that the ancient Chinese used. The hardware that was being used was again designed by the Chinese. They would use metal, metal hinges. They would use metal brackets. So metal was used, and it was also shaped. Sometimes they had a shape of a animal or a medallion with the nose ring that would be used. So hardware was not only just there for doing the functional part. They were very ornamental, and they added to the aesthetic beauty of the furniture pieces which we use. So now friends, that you have the knowledge about ancient Chinese architecture, the various architectural styles, you know how the rooms or the buildings were done up in the imperial style or how they were done in the Buddhist style. You also know the various motifs that were used in the Taoist architecture. So that is the awareness that you got in my previous lecture about ancient Chinese architecture. In today's lecture, I discussed about the ancient Chinese furniture, how the ancient Chinese furniture was made, how was it during the Ming Dynasty, how it was during the Qing Dynasty, the colors that were being used. So now if you have to design as an interior designer any room or any lobby or anything that you have to design in interiors as per Chinese theme, what you have to understand is pick up elements from this civilization. You have to pick up elements from the Chinese architecture. Like in Chinese architecture, if you remember the Buddhist architecture, we talked about pagodas, we talked about the sloping eaves of the roof, the bagua. So all that, the elements can be picked up and they can be adapted in the present time interiors. You also know about the colors that were being used majorly, like red being auspicious, the green color, the bright yellows. So those colors can be used in modern day interiors with, of course, modern materials. And of course, if you're making something in Chinese theme, you obviously cannot put contemporary furniture. So that is where you have to have sound knowledge about the ancient Chinese furniture. If you have had a look at the furniture forms which flashed before your screen, you must have noticed the furniture, the legs which are so typical of the furniture form, the carving which was done, or for that matter the hardware which was used. So using all that, you could also make furniture forms which were similar to the ones being used in ancient China. And like I said, most of the Chinese conducted their lifestyle at mat level. So you could also design residential interiors where you don't have very high looking furniture but a low seating because that would reflect the Chinese culture and the whatever setting. So keeping all this in mind and studying the architecture and the furniture, I think you can design beautiful Chinese interiors. All the best.